Well, hello there, Algebra 3 kids, best students in the world. We are going to talk about division today. Which is a topic that you started back in primary school, elementary school. You've done it all along. The act of division is we're going to take a pile of things and divide it up into equal parts. What we are going to do is we're going to use polynomials, though, instead of just like whole numbers, and we're going to divide those up into equal parts. So I just want to review the whole idea of division a little bit. Let's say we have 11 marbles. That's called the dividend, the pile of things we're going to divide up. We want to divide it up into two equal parts. That's called the divisor, how many piles we're looking for. So if we had 11 marbles and we want to make two piles, we would probably have 5 marbles, count them out, another 5 marbles, and that would give us 10. But then we'd have this one marble left over because it's an odd amount and we want only 2 piles, an even amount of piles. And we'd say, oh, there's a remainder of 1 marble. And back in the day, we learned something called long division. Long division looks like this. It's an algorithm, and this algorithm works by chunking numbers. So as these numbers get larger and larger, as the piles are bigger and the number of the divisor is larger, it works to chunk this into smaller pieces. And then what happens is we just basically take the dividend, divide it by the divisor, and the quotient goes up top. And then we take the quotient and multiply it by the divisor. That goes underneath. And then we subtract. This now becomes our remainder. And one of the ways that we talked about writing this is quotient plus remainder over divisor. So we would write this as 5, the quotient, plus the remainder 1 over our divisor. Okay, so this is an idea from early on, but we're going to apply this idea and make these things here, or these things here, polynomials. So we're going to wrap what we've talked about the last couple of days, and we have 3 examples. Like I call it a mild, medium, and a spicy example. So this mild is, I wouldn't say that it's completely mild, all right? Because you're going to have to practice it a little bit, and you're going to really have to pay attention. There's a bunch of steps, and we're going to do dividing of terms of a polynomial and estimating, and then multiplying and subtracting, and then repeating until we have a remainder. Okay, so here we got 2 polynomials here. Here's our first one, and here's our second one, okay? The second one here, when it says divided by, that one here is our divisor. So our divisor goes right here. Let's just put it down right here. And then we have this bracket, a bar, the number underneath the bar, that's our dividend. That's our like big pile that we're dividing up with our divisor. Standard form, make sure it's in standard form. That's important. Okay, so make sure you write the whole polynomial, double check you haven't missed out any terms, double check you haven't written any down the wrong way. There we go, that's our first step. Now our next step, just like with dividing or long dividing whole numbers, we are going to divide, and we're not going to look at the full polynomial, we're going to look at a chunk of the polynomial here. So we look at the first term of the divisor, first term of dividend. And in our head or off on some scratch paper, we take 4x to the third divided by 2x. So we take the dividend divided by the divisor. Another way to look at that from algebra is 4x to the third over 2x. What does that give us? Well, 2 goes into 4 2 times. X goes into x to the third, x squared times. Okay? You can always check your work here. If you want to, you're going to just basically take this 2x squared and you're going to multiply it by your divisor, 2x. And that should give you your dividend. 2x squared times 2x is 4x to the third, all good. Okay, so this 2x squared, that is your quotient. Where does the quotient go? Quotients always go on top of this bar over here. So if we're looking at this as a bar quotient, and what we need to do is we're going to line up, this algorithm works when we take that term and we line it up vertically right above the polynomial of the dividend with the same degree. So the 2x squared is going to go above the 18x squared. All right, and then what did we do? Think about that last problem. We took 5 and we multiplied it by 2. We had 2 piles, 5 marbles in each. That gave us, then we took that 5 multiplied by 2, it gave us 10. That quotient went underneath the bar here. So we're going to take this dividend, the 2x squared, and we're going to multiply that by our divisor, which is 2x plus 5. Now, some of you guys can do this in your head. I'm just going to write it down to show you what we're doing. This is kind of what we talked about when we talked about multiplying polynomials. So if we multiply that out, we get 4x to the third plus 10x squared. So that 4x to the third, 10x squared, gets lined up underneath. And what we're going to do, I'm going to put some parentheses around it. We're going to subtract that from the dividend. All right, and this is why it's important to line everything up, because we're going to subtract like terms. So we're going to take away 4x to the third from the number right above it. 4x to the third, that's nothing. That's good. That's a good thing. That's what should happen. And now we're also going to take away, remember when we talked about subtraction, the distributive property. So we're going to take away a positive 10x squared from 18x squared. So that's going to give us 8x squared. And then we're not taking away anything from this term, and we're not taking away anything from this term. We'll just carry those and bring them down. And now we're going to repeat. Our dividend is now down here. This is our dividend. And we still want to use the first term and first term. And we're going to repeat this process I just did over here. I'm going to erase this. This can either be done in your head or on a piece of scratch paper. We're going to take 8x squared. We're going to divide it by 2x. It goes in there 4x times. 4x goes here. That is 8x. And then it's going to go in there 4x times. So we're going to take that 4x. Remember, now that's our quotient goes above. We'll multiply that by a divisor. And so I'm just going to do the distributive property to help me out here. 4x times 2x is 8x squared. Goes underneath here. 4x times 5 is 20x. We're going to subtract. I always put parentheses around this. That's just so I don't forget to distribute the subtraction sign. So 8x squared minus 8x squared is nothing. 8x squared, distribute the minus sign. So it's 22x minus 20x. So how about a little 2x plus 5? Bring this guy down. Okay? All right, everything's good. Let's just keep going. We stop. Now here's when we stop. We stop when either the remainder down here, or this is our smaller truncated dividend, when that dividend is nothing, that means it doesn't have a remainder, or this polynomial is a smaller degree than our divisor. We can see it's not. And when we start looking at just this first term, and this first term, 2x divided by 2x, goes in there one time. Remember, the quotient goes above. We multiply. 1 times the polynomial 2x plus 1 is 2x. 1 times 2x plus 5 is 2x plus 5. Put parentheses around it. Subtract, distribute, 0, 0. Oh, this one's beautiful. No remainder. If I don't have any remainder, I'm just going to box it in. That is the quotient when I divide those polynomials. Okay, there's a lot going on here, you guys. In each step, we're not only dividing, we're finding quotients, but then we take the quotients and we're multiplying, and then we're subtracting. So we're dividing, multiplying, subtracting, repeat. Okay, so this would be a good time for you either to try this on your own and hit pause and then speed it up and see where you're at, or try one step out of the way and hit pause and then see where you're at. Check and connect, kind of build that scaffolding here. Okay, so here we go. Well, first I'm just going to identify my two parts. This one right here is the divisor. Let's write that here. And then the other piece here, I'll use all the same color. 8x to the fourth minus 8x to the third minus 4x squared. Holy buckets, it's a big boy. It's okay, we got this, Okay, so let's take a deep breath. 4x squared, 8x to the fourth. Remember, this is always our first step. We divide, we multiply, we subtract. So we're dividing those terms. 8x to the fourth divided by 4x squared. Goes in there 2x squared times. The 2x squared, that's your quotient. Where's that go? That goes up above. And make sure you put it, and we're going to just line these things up vertically. Think about these as like vertical columns here. So 2x squared, that is a second degree monomial. That's going to go above the minus 4x squared. All right. Then we take that, and remember what we're going to do? We're going to multiply that by our divisor. Distribute 8x to the fourth minus 20x to the third. What is that? Is that a 9? 18x squared. Cool. Put parentheses around it. We're going to subtract. Grab a different color here. Remember, we're distributing here. So this is nothing. We're going to distribute. So this ends up being a positive 20x to the third. So 12x to the third. And again, minus here. So just let this sink in a little bit. That's a negative now because I'm distributing it. Negative 18x squared. And I'm combining that with minus 4x squared. So that's minus 22x squared. These guys here come down. I've now taken a dividend, a large polynomial, and made it smaller. Now I just got to keep going. Deep breaths, divide these right here. We'll shorten it up a little bit. 4 goes into 12 3 times. X squared goes into x to the third x times. So 3x, that is going to go above here. 3x times that, 12x to the third. 3x times minus 10x. Well, minus 30x squared. 3x plus 9, so plus 27x, parentheses around it. We're going to subtract, distribute, that's nothing. Distribute, so that's a positive. Distribute 20x. This guy comes down. Okay, let's do it again. We're almost there. It's exciting. 8x squared and 4x squared. So how many times does 4x squared go in 8x squared? It goes in there 2 times. So plus 2. Ooh, a whole number. I wonder what that does. So that's going to be 8x squared minus 20x. We're doubling each, we're multiplying each by 2. Oh boy. Uh-oh. When I take away and I distribute this, it's going to show you here visually. Minus, minus, minus. That basically is 0, 0, 0. No remainder, folks. Final, final. Boom. So our last problem here is a little bit spicier. We call this the hot variety. And I'll show you why in just a second. We are going to take a polynomial and we're dividing it by this. This is our divisor. So we start off and we write our divisor here. We'll then take our dividend and write our dividend right underneath here. Now, one of the ideas with our dividend here is that, first of all, it's in standard form, so our highest degree is here. The next thing we want with this algorithm of long division is we want to make sure all degrees are represented in decreasing order as we go to the right. So we have our next term is a second degree, which means that there is a third degree placeholder that we're going to put right here. We'll call this 0x to the third, okay? And then minus 3x squared and minus 11x, and then my constant. So I just want to make sure that all my degrees are represented here. And if I don't have any represented, I'm going to use those placeholders. Okay, so business as usual. I take the first term of the dividend divided by the first term of the divisor. I can do that off to the side. 4x to the fourth divided by 4x squared is x squared. Now notice I talked about this earlier, but I do want you to line up, and let's move this up slightly, give ourselves a little space here. So I want you to line up that quotient above the column of the degree that matches the term below it. So I'm going to put the squares above here, and then I'm going to multiply, and my product is the x squared times this full divisor, and so that product is 4x to the fourth minus 4x to the third minus 7x squared. I'm going to put that whole thing in parentheses, and then I'm going to subtract it. Okay, so when I'm subtracting these, this goes away. Make sure we distribute this subtraction sign to all these terms here. So I have a double negative here that ends up being positive 4x to the third, a double negative here, and so that's a positive 7x squared. So it's minus 3x squared plus 7x squared. So that's going to be 4x squared. Slow those steps down. After you subtract, bring all of the remainder down. We're estimating this dividend. We're making it smaller. Now it went from a fourth degree to a third degree. Our steps from here are the same. We're just going to repeat. We're going to divide. And to me, it looks like that is x. Line that column up right here. We're going to multiply the x and this divisor, and I get 4x to the third minus 4x squared minus 7x. Let's make sure we'll put some parentheses around and make sure we're subtracting. So we subtract this first term, that goes away. Don't forget we do need to distribute each of these terms. So this double negative here makes this positive 8x squared, and then a double negative again makes this a positive 7x with a negative 11x. That is going to be negative 4x. Okay, exciting. We're going to continue this process. We're going to divide again. We're getting closer here. And you guys, we know we're done when there's either nothing left over like the previous problems, or the polynomial degree of the dividend that we're estimating and making smaller has a degree less than our divisor. We're not quite there yet. We're getting close there. So plus 2, and this is 8x squared. I'm going to multiply the 2 and my whole divisor here. I'll put some parentheses around it. I'm going to subtract. This is 0. We got this double negative. I do like kind of making these arrows so I don't forget. So this is a positive 4x, and this is a positive 4. Now, the degree of this polynomial, our dividend, is smaller than our quotient. That's how we know we're done. We have a fraction left over. So this is how we write this remainder. All we do up here is we go plus, and we're going to make this remainder a fraction. The remainder over the divisor. And that's it. That's about as hard as they get. Same process. Be careful of a couple things here. Be careful of placeholders. Be careful of how we write our remainder. And we're good to go. Great work today.